On this week's episode, just how well did Rise of Skywalker do at the box office? What's our go-to Christmas movie? And it's time for our Star Wars Episode 9 spoiler cast. All this and more as we delve into a holiday edition of the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break Podcast, and Game Source. Thank you so much for listening to all of our great shows. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own elf on the shelf when it comes to Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check him out today at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Also his great show Topicocalypse, and of course his book, which I'm going to have to get because it doesn't look like a review copy's coming my way anytime soon, of Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Gonna have to make my happy way down to a local Barnes & Noble.
I'm sorry, man. I actually have a pile of them like right next to my keyboard here. I just haven't put them in the mail yet.
It's got, I've just been on anticipation, waiting.
I know.
I've heard it from people say, "Well, he's your co-host, man. You're not good enough to read his book." Blah, 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 blah.
No, the issue is the post office closes at 4, and I don't get off work till 3, and so I don't ever like get in my car till like 3:45, so I never have time to go over there.
You're going to the wrong post office, man, because here in Vegas, they stay open till 5, and there's some open after that. So, you just got to find it, man. It's called Google, man. It's called Google.
I know. And UPS is so expensive, so I don't want to do, not UPS, but UPS, right?
UPS or FedEx, man.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just try Grubhub or something like that?
I know, seriously. I just need to drive them out there. Dude, I am overloaded with stuff, like viewing stuff right now. Like I'm about halfway through It Chapter 2. I'm about halfway through the first episode of The Witcher. There's too much, man. It's too much. I'm getting overloaded here.
I hear you. And on our next episode, we're going to have to shout out our picks for the year and for the decade, along with a great guest as well, talking about another aspect of this decade in pop culture. But for today, it is a Star Wars Episode 9 spoiler cast. So spoilers all over the episode. It is going to be Jay Bartlett of A Galaxy Far, Far Away and Action Figure Adventure. He's going to stop by to talk at length about spoilers about the Star Wars Episode 9. Did he like the film? Because he is a Star Wars super fan. And if there's anybody that likes anything at all regarding Star Wars, I've never heard him say he didn't like anything, any aspect of the Star Wars universe. So I definitely want to sit down with him and hear his thoughts on the Star Wars universe. Plus, at the end, Josh now gets to go ahead and break his silence, so to speak, on the spoilers. So he gets to go ahead and dish out his final thoughts on the film. And you know what? I'll throw in a sentence there too. Plus, also, we'll drop our go-to Christmas movie as we head on out as well. But first off, my friend, before we head to Jay, I just wanted to go ahead and mention to you real quick, and everybody out there, how well Star Wars Rise of Skywalker did the box office. It did about $175 million here domestically and about $375 million worldwide, which is down substantially over The Last Jedi, which was down over The Force Awakens. Now, mind you, this is all in perspective. It's still one of the highest grossing December performances, of all time. It's still one of the highest grossing performances of the year, period. So it's still in retro, if you look in as far as comparisons, if you look in a comparison speaking, it still did extremely well, but it is down substantially overall over the other two Star Wars films. So I ask you, my friend, the interest is there, but it's just not as much as it was before.
For Star Wars? I mean, so I've been reading a lot of interviews, and so I love, first of all, I love how diplomatic J.J. Abrams is being, and even in the way he's responding to the criticism, like he is confirming what the stars of the movie are saying, and they were saying, they are happy with their performances, but they're unhappy with where the saga went, because they said it feels like it was manufactured, right? Like it was like when George Lucas had New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. When he was making those, the scripts were all already written. Like he wrote that as a whole. He just split the scripts up and expanded them to be different films. Whereas these were written just for the purpose of being released at a certain date. So you can hear that in the interviews with the stars when they go, you know, we love our performances, but we feel like the movies were too manufactured, and we want Star Wars to go back to a point where it doesn't feel that way anymore. And you can kind of see that reflected in the way J.J. Abrams is handling the interviews, especially when they're saying, you know, one I just read where Vanity Fair asked him, hey, how do you feel about fans saying, you know, they're not getting what they need out of this other Star Wars movie? And then he goes, yeah, no, they're right. And then there are things that they're not getting. And then he goes, but the people who are getting everything they want out of it, they're also right. So he's being very diplomatic there, but there is a feeling of manufacturing, you know, film in this newer saga. Like a lot of it does feel forced. And I think, no pun intended, but I think that's what is reflecting in a lot of the, you know, the criticisms of both Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Well, there's a lot of things I know that want to be said about the film in detail. There was a lack of cohesion within the three films, but I'm going to go into detail on that in a second here with Jay Bartlett, because we're going to be discussing it at length in the spoiler cast. But right after it, you're going to come with your final thoughts, spoilerific on whatever you want to talk about, you know, with whatever time we have left in today's show. And then also as well, we'll go ahead and talk about our Christmas movies as well. But for right now, it is going to be something that we're going to be talking about at length. So this is the last stop. Anybody that has not seen Star Wars Episode 9 and doesn't want to hear any spoilers, I'm going to tell you right now, the rest of the show is dedicated to spoilers, because right after this, we're going to go to Jay Bartlett. And also, we're going to right after this, we're going to go to Jay Bartlett as he talks about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And we're back to close out the show. This is Gerald Glassford, along with my good friend Josh Peterson. All right, if anybody, if you need a listing where we're at, because if you need a listing where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, 7 days a week on radio stations worldwide, check out our listings today at Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source on Facebook, where you also see a listing of over 30 different podcasts as well. All right, my friend, before we head on out, the floor is yours. I want to thank Jay Bartlett so much for going ahead and elaborating in full, in spoilers detail about Star Wars Episode 9. Before I say anything more on it, I just want to hear your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so I am of the mind that I thought it was very entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. I don't think it was a great film, but I like my time with it. You know, I'm not going to say it was the best Star Wars film, because there's a feeling that you got after watching Return of the Jedi, especially for the first time. Like it felt like you're getting your character development, everything was coming to a close, and I just didn't feel that with the Rise of Skywalker. So here's some of my thoughts on it. One, you know, as I discussed before, like it feels like the movie was all motion, right? There was there's not a lot of character development, not a lot of plot development. It was visually pleasing. It was fun to watch, but it was all so fast. And while J.J. Abrams is denying that he spent, you know, 2 hours undoing what was done in The Last Jedi, he kind of did that, you know, and I feel like a lot of great storytelling opportunities were wasted on that time. To go into detail, I didn't like, you know, I don't know how I feel about Palpatine. Like it was kind of cool to see him come back. There's a lot of things that didn't make sense, you know, especially with him. He wanted Rey to kill him, and then in the end, he realized, oh, I can just suck the life out of him, and then he didn't really care about them killing him anymore. Same thing with, you know, another part of that was when he was telling Rey to kill him, and all the Sith were going to flow into her, and like they never really elaborated on why that might be. I know there's all that saying with Luke, right, where he goes, "You have 1,000 generations of Jedi inside of you." Like I thought that was just like a thing, you know. I didn't think that it was like a literal comment. The whole thing with I'm one of the few that thought this, the whole thing with Kylo Ren and Rey kissing in the end and then him dying, like I thought that was kind of cool. I was not opposed to seeing that. Finn, I don't like that he was kind of turned into a joke character, because like he was a very serious part of The Force Awakens, and he got turned into the kind of like he took a back seat, and I didn't really understand like why they built him up so much, only to have him kind of fade out of the picture, or just have those tiny snippets of him like being the hero. Because I actually really do enjoy his character. Poe Dameron, I didn't really feel like he lived out his purpose. I love the kind of buddy adventure feel that him and Poe had throughout the film. But what we know about Poe Dameron, right, is that he's a good pilot. He's an ace pilot, and that's what makes him. That they opened up the Force Awakens with him too, right? So we're expecting this big space battle, especially with Lando Calrissian and the Millennium Falcon, and we didn't really get delivered on that. We didn't get the cool space fighting scenes, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit. Other than that, though, like I didn't have a lot of complaints about it. It just was not. It felt too rushed. It felt too fast. Like there's too much motion and not enough, plot development, character development. They did put a nice bow on the trilogy, but it still felt like it moved too fast. What were I haven't really gotten to talk to you about this, but what were your thoughts? Because I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was stuck out to me. But what were some of your like thoughts here?
Just too much of everything. Very hard to digest.
Overwhelming, right?
Very overwhelming. Just threw everything. It felt like a version of a dartboard. It just threw let's throw everything at it and see what sticks. And unfortunately, there was so much thrown at it. Not a lot of it stuck for me. The more I think about it, the less I like of Rise of Skywalker. I'm still giving it a passing grade, as I mentioned to Jay. But even from the time I saw it and mentioned it to you, first off, right as I left the theater, I was telling you exactly what I thought. I'm even less on it at this point in time, because the more I think about it, the more messy it gets for me, and the more things I find wrong with it, the more plot holes I find wrong with it, and the more questionable logic decisions I find wrong with it. And that's something I don't want to do out of a Star Wars film. It's something that makes it less and less enjoyable. I can't say, because it was so fast paced, because it was nonstop, because they threw everything at it, there was no real low points like on the casino planet in The Last Jedi, which was absolutely horrid. Or the first 10 minutes of Solo, that was absolutely awful. There was no time for it to go ahead and something digest in such a poor fashion. So that's a benefit to it, and that's why I'm giving it a passing grade, because all of it was not bad. I mean, it was not bad. There was no real low points.
It was a ride,
but there was no high points as well.
Yeah,
it was just there, and for me, it was just there, and that's unfortunately for me what a Star Wars film should not be about. But again, it was enjoyable enough for me to go ahead and give it a slightly passing grade. But I'm very disappointed the way they wrapped it up. I think they could have wrapped it up better, as I explained in the hour with Jay and all that, with Jay earlier in the show. And I'm just going to say this: he said it best. It would have been better if they did a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah,
like they did with Marvel.
Yes, because there was so much happening. Like I look at it like this, it was to use a medical term, it was a flatline Star Wars movie, right? There's no like spikes in the monitor. There's no like dips in the monitor. It's just a steady throughout the whole thing.
Just there. It's just there.
It's just there. I didn't hate it. Like I said, it was a ride. It was entertaining. I was entertained by it. I just was not, super impressed by it. It's not something that I'm like gonna go tell people, you have to watch this movie. Like people keep asking me, they're like, so should I go see it? And I tell them this: if you want to see how the trilogy ends, go see it. It's entertaining. I would say that it's worth the whatever price you're paying for the ticket, but it's not going to be something you're going to walk out of the movie going, wow, that was an amazing film. One more thing. My big thing that kind of bothered me in the film, though, the most was the whole thing with Hux, right? General Hux. Sorry, hold on. Give me a second. My dogs are fighting over a toy. General Hux, right? That whole thing. Oh, he's a spy. And like, I just felt like that whole thing was petty when he goes, I don't care who wins. I just want Kylo Ren to lose. Like, I felt that was unnecessary. I would have loved a little backstory on why he was doing what he did. And the whole thing with, what's her name? The girl that played Poe's old acquaintance. What was her name? Kerry Russell, right?
Yeah. That's her character.
I didn't like how they turned like that oh, was there a relationship thing between them, into like a joke, right? Because he kept going back and looking at her, and then she would like shake her head and stuff. Like that wasn't funny to me. It just felt like something that belonged in like a teen romance film.
Well, there was also no humor at all that really connected with the audience
Yeah.
that I saw. Nobody was laughing in the theater I was at all, any of the jokes. That made me think that little thing was cute that repaired through C-3PO in the film. That was, okay, he's a cute guy. It does that in that type of voice. Yeah, that's great and all, but, unfortunately, the rest of the movie it was there. But I will say this, I disagree with you on one thing that you mentioned last week, and that was this. You said that this trilogy, after seeing this film, made it unnecessary, unneeded. After the prequels were what they were, and then you have this trilogy. This trilogy for me was underwhelming, but the trilogies were just underwhelming. I do need a Star Wars trilogy. I do need a good Star Wars trilogy. So I disagree with you on that sense. It is something I need. But I just need something good to come back in my life when it comes to Star Wars. And The Mandalorian is a good step in the right direction.
Right.
But there's still a lot more that needs to be done on the big screen, because I do want to share that big screen experience in a good way with my daughters once again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and here's the thing. Like, I would have loved to see more Star Wars too. I just felt like this trilogy was not the way the story should have gone. Though it did have its ups and downs, had its high points and low points. It was not. I would have rather seen what George Lucas originally had planned for these, the sequel trilogy.
As would I, my friend. As would I. What are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts out there on Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker? Let us know, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmo on Twitter, and also Pop Culture Cosmos on Instagram as well. You can share us your thoughts on the film. Also, if you get a chance, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or subscribe or follow us on our social media, or subscribe to us. Follow us on our social media, or subscribe to us on our YouTube channel as well. Well, all right, my friend, it's been a great episode. Once again, I want to thank Jay Bartlett for being on the show, talking everything Star Wars on this episode, on this show, on the Pop Culture Cosmos today. Before we head on out, man, I want to wish you and the family a happy holidays. Want to wish all of our listeners happy holidays and safe and prosperous 2020 to everyone out there. But before we head on out, it's Christmas. You got the TV going. What movie is at the Peterson home playing that you have programmed in there?
This is gonna sound cheesy, but Love Actually. I'll be honest, it's my all-time favorite Christmas movie. There's something about it. It's got a character archetype from every archetype you can think of. Every type of character is in that film, so it's fun to watch. I love me some Home Alone, but just there's something about Love Actually. Like, I can watch it over and over and over again, and it never gets old to me. It just makes me feel so good when I watch it.
For me, I kind of like those soft tearjerker, almost like a Hallmark movie in itself. And I'm probably just going to have to say this, something about, it's going to sound like this: yippee-ki-yay, mother, because Die Hard will be playing on my TV this week.
So I thought you were going to say Polar Express. I mean, is that quote not from that movie?
No.
My mistake.
No. Let's head on down to Nakatomi Plaza and watch another round of Die Hard this Christmas. So for Josh,
what's that old saying that goes? It's not a true Christmas until Alan Rickman gets thrown off Nakatomi Plaza.
There you go. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And again, have a safe and happy holiday. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.